Okay, let's go. Fans forum. We got a lot of different people here that want to throw stuff in our direction. What would you like to start with, John?
I mean, there's so much here. I'm not even sure where to start, but let's just go with the first question just to get rolling. This is from Pedro Rosario. It says, is Tatis going to go off? He always does something special after time off.
Well, I think so. The fact that he was so vibrant at the end of his rehab run in El Paso. I mean, you hit 515 anywhere. I think his slugging percentage was like 1,095. That's pretty impressive. So now, granted, he's not facing some AAA pitcher from Albuquerque, but he looks healthy. He swung the bat with great aggressiveness. I'm ready to see him at the top of the batting order because they need a leader. They need a catalyst. They need a guy to just bring this thing together. We'll see if Fernando can do that. I'm hopeful he can.
It's going to be great tonight. I mean, we've been waiting for over a year. He's been out 1+ seasons. I mean, this is a big moment in San Diego sports today. We got a bunch more Tatis comments.
Go ahead.
Questions. So this one from Jesse Lee Cottrell says, it's Tatismas. And Jesse goes on to say, hey, nobody in San Diego cares, Lee. We all want Padres talk.
There's no doubt about it. I think that there's, the Padres have grabbed this community. The community is wide open. I mean, with the ownership of the Chargers pulling the greed card out and taking a beloved franchise to Los Angeles, this is a market that now the Padres control, as witnessed by all these sellouts. I mean, the fact that the Padres are getting 40,000 to 43,000 for virtually all their home games. I think they've had 8 sellouts so far in 13 home games. Just phenomenal. But we'll see. There's a lot of baseball to be played. It is interesting, though, because just up north, they're really starting to whine about the Dodger lineup.
Yeah.
And the Dodger defense and the holes in the Dodger pitching staff. And how come we don't have a closer? Dodger Blue, welcome to the rest of the world, because that's not what they used to be. And obviously the Padres get a push now with El Nino coming back. Next question.
Let's go on. We got a good hockey question here from Steve Zach Botsford. How do you think the Kings have done after a small rebuild? Do you think they have a strong chance to beat Edmonton in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
I think they do. And it hasn't really been a short rebuild because they've been losing for a chunk of years. But what happened is Rob Blake got bold, and Rob Blake went out and he made some trades and he signed some free agents. And, sometimes it doesn't look real sexy when you sign a face-off specialist who can occasionally score goals like Philippe Deneau. But Deneau was the focal point of when Montreal went to the Stanley Cup Finals a couple of years ago. So he came. And then they traded for a goal scorer. Minnesota had salary cap problems, and somehow they finagled, and they got Kevin Fiala. He came in, he scored 30 goals. Now, he's banged up right now. He's not playing, but he's a pretty good player. And they've drafted really well. I mean, they have an unsung hero defenseman came out of the collegiate ranks, I think, at Minnesota Duluth, Mikey Anderson. He's rock solid with Drew Doughty. And then they drafted Gabe Velarde, high number 1 pick from the Ontario Hockey League. Young guy, big guy, back problems. Took him 2 years to get healthy. He's got like 26 goals this season. First full year he's been healthy. And who helped them win the game the other night? Gabe Velarde. So, the Kings rebuild. It took time, and it's really paying dividends. And now they made these bold, controversial trades, getting rid of Jonathan Quick in a very controversial deal that shipped him to Las Vegas. But geez, you watch Joonas Korpisalo from Finland, the guy they got from the Columbus Blue Jackets, and you look at Phoenix Copley. His record, I think, is 20-6 this season. He was a journeyman. All of a sudden, light switch went on. He's playing really well at this level. Rob Blake ought to be the general manager of the year in the NHL. And there's a blueprint there. If they could flip it, Verbeek and the Ducks can flip it. And the Ducks have got a bunch of cornerstone young guys here, but they're all too young. But they're going to get either the first or second pick on the lottery, which would mean a great young player. What they need to do is get the right free agents to put around this cadre of all young guys the Ducks have. So I'm hoping that the misery we saw in Anaheim and what we experienced in San Diego was a one-off.
Yeah, I hope so too. Let's move along here. We got another comment. This is from Podsin69. He says, hey, lifetime Aztec fan, if Brady fails again this year, he should be replaced immediately. The game has passed him up.
Well, he's running a Big Ten offense in a conference where everybody throws the football. And I wrote a column at midseason after Fresno State kicked them. I said, Brady, That's what a transfer quarterback really looks like. I was making reference to Jake Hayner, 3-year starter from the University of Washington, went into Fresno State and made the Bulldogs good. I don't call for coaches' resignations, but he's really under the gun because they got to rally this thing. And they've had a really good run, but our community has never ever responded. Hell, the student body doesn't respond. There's 150,000 Aztec alums. My alma mater is Ohio U, 2,000 miles away, and I'm hooked with them all the time. Is anybody in San Diego that's an Aztec alum hooked with the football program? No.
No.
The fans, the students don't even go to the games. I think it's abominable. It goes against the grain of everything I believed about college football. So Brady's got to move into the 22nd century. I'm not calling for his head. I just hope there's not going to be another substandard football season, because we've had a couple of years in a row of disappointments.
Well, think about how long that the Aztec program was terrible, like through the 90s and the early 2000s, before Hoke came here originally from Bowling Green. Now the expectation of the hardcore fans is a lot higher. And so when they took a dip down, there's a lot of frustrated people. Go on Twitter, a lot of Aztec fans have really been barking. So yeah, let's hope Brady can kind of move the ball downfield, as far as making the team better, incrementally improving it. But yeah, it'd be nice to have a more dynamic offense.
It's an NFL city.
Oh yeah.
Throw the football.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that we've had a Heisman Trophy candidates. We had the, the Marshall Faulk era. Obviously, we had Rashad Penny and DJ Pumphrey and all that. But San Diego wants wide open football. I mean, you're watching what Caleb Williams is doing at USC. We've seen what the Robinson Thompson did at UCLA. We know what the Pac-12 is. Air it out. San Diego State has to move into the 22nd century offensively, and maybe that'll get the community back.
Okay, let's move on. We got some comments here about the playoffs. This is from the SG Sports Talk channel. It's going to be an absolute electric atmosphere inside Chase Center tonight for the NBA playoffs, and the Warrior fans are going to be fired up in this game. And this particular person was also asking, who do you like in Game 3, Kings or Warriors?
I think Golden State's in a world of hurt, because not only do they lose the dimension of Draymond Green's toughness, they lose his fire, they lose his leadership. Curry and Thompson don't play well on the road. Granted, they're playing really well at home. It's amazing. I think Golden State at home during the season, John, was 30-11. And I think on the road, I think they were 10-31 on the road.
Wow.
So Golden State plays really well at home. But they really need to amp it up. But if they go down 3-0, I don't think there's any way they can come back against Sacramento. And the era, despite the fact I really like the Splash Brothers, and I have a personal friendship with Steve Kerr, the era at Golden State may be over if they lose tonight. And part of that, if they lose tonight, falls to Draymond Green and all of his antics.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how there are some players that you say, he's the evil enemy if he's on the other teams, but if he's on your team, you like him, right? But Draymond Green sort of crossed that line, because he's costing this team a chance when they need him the most. And he's a great player. He's not just a tough guy and get the boards, but he's a great passer too. He makes that offense work. He's an integral part of it. So without him, are these other guys going to step up? We're going to find out and see. I got to watch this game, and I got to watch Tatis. I'm going to be flipping channels too.
On we go. Next question.
On we go. Let's take a look at some of these YouTube comments. We got some good ones here as well. And this was actually interesting. It was going back to an older topic about the sports arena in San Diego from Dream Cage. He says, an NBA team that can possibly return to San Diego is very optimistic if the arena is remodeled properly.
Well, I'll say it'd be nice. It's fascination. Not going to happen. If the NBA expands, and I think they will, I think they're going back into Seattle, which has a great heritage with the old Supersonics. And I think they're going to Vegas. And I just don't think that San Diego fits, because you got the Lakers and you got the Clippers and you got these other big markets that have a history. I mean, Oklahoma City should have never happened. The Supersonics should have never been allowed to vacate that city. You go back to Supersonic basketball decades upon decades, whether it was Gus Williams or Jack Sikma. I mean, it was disgraceful that the league allowed them to go to Oklahoma City. Granted, Oklahoma City became a really vibrant market, and it's a single town entity, but there's no need for another Southern California team here. So I just don't think that it's in the cards, and I don't think the NHL's in our cards because you got the Kings and your Ducks. Granted, our market is 3.5 million in San Diego County and maybe a little bit up the Inland Empire, but I just don't see the NBA seeing a need that we got to be here. Hell, the NFL should have a need to put a franchise back here, but that's not going to happen because we don't have a stadium at this point.
Yeah, and even the original projections for that arena off of Rosecrans Sports Arena Boulevard is not big enough for an NBA team. But you look, we lost the Clippers, we lost the Rockets, the Conquistadors went out when the ABA went defunct. So it's almost like San Diego it's like a third rail. They don't want to touch it because they think that they're going to lose the team no matter what.
Well, it's been replaced by Aztec basketball, which is a destination point.
For sure.
Next question.
Moving along here. And this is from Force Ghost Fabio. Talk about Herb Meyer. He says, rip Herb Meyer, amazing coach. Got to see his 91 team in the playoffs. They destroyed my team 54-6.
Yeah, they're going to have a celebration of life in mid-May for Herb Meyer. And I'll tell you, we have just, as the commentary I did this past week, we've just come through the golden era of high school coaches. Whether it was Herb Meyer, whether it was John Carroll, whether it was Benny Edens, we've been blessed by guys who dedicated themselves to lead young men, not just to wins and losses in football, but to help guide them and lead them into life. But there will be a ceremony. You could probably find out about it on the internet. It is going to be open to the public, which means there'll be a mob scene there. So we lost a good one, and we've just come through a golden era of really special people coaching high school football.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great history here with great talent in San Diego. It's a launching pad for the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball.
On we go.
On we go. Here's just one of ones from angry Tiger fans. Robert Andrews Sinclair says, someone says this every year, talking about how you want him to retire. His C game is still better than most pros' A game.
Well, but not right now. I mean, and this is not shot making any longer. This is just the inability to be on the course and do what has to be done. And that includes all your preparation, all your practice time, playing in tournaments. If he's only going to play in the Grand Slams because he's won Grand Slam, so he's automatically eligible, that's fine. But if he can't walk 18 at Augusta and he can't make the cut, or you see him limping, and to me, it's just a terrible optic. And I just don't want that picture in my scrapbook of this guy. And somewhere along the way, everybody has to face the reality we have reached the finish line of our career. But his is so different because he can become an analyst and he can be great for the PGA Tour as one of the lead guys in studio at CBS. Maybe he doesn't have to be in the box at 18 with Jim Nantz. But what's there not to say that he would not have great input as a CBS TV analyst? Agree or disagree? I don't care. I'd like to hear what you've got to say, though.
Yeah. And, Jim Nantz is starting to step away from the microphone. So, yeah, maybe there's an opportunity here for him. But so many of these players, they kind of hang around too long. There's so few players that kind of go out on top or even go out too early, like Jim Brown or, some of these other guys. But, Elway went out on top. But most of the time, they stick around 1 or 2 years too long.
Yeah, I don't want to see him missing a cut every Friday just so he can go out there and people, hey, I remember. Well, remember fondly. The final picture I saw him at Augusta in that rainstorm, it was horrible. And that's the thing that flashes in front of my face. So do what I recommend because I think that could be the second career, which would be really cool because the first career was unforgettable.
Unforgettable. Hey, we got another great question. This is a soccer question. This is from Gustavo Toro. He says, I think Berhalter did a good job. The U.S. team played very well against teams that were better. If you don't believe that, just check the rosters of the English and Dutch teams.
This was all part of the U.S. blueprint. They were going to load this thing with young guys. I mean, they got rid of a lot of veterans when Berhalter finally put the World Cup roster together, and they got through group play, and they got into the knockout round with a very young team. I think it was the second youngest World Cup team in the history of World Cup soccer, and they got to the knockout round.
Nice.
And virtually all those guys are eligible, if they're healthy, to be part of 2026. And then you add into it the young guys that hardly got a chance to participate. the Gio Reynas, the
Mhm.
Ricardo Pepes, the Alejandro Zendejas, though he's not a young pup. These guys could all be added to what they've already got. I don't understand why there's been such a long delay here about the Berhalter situation, but the reality is the U.S. Soccer Federation says he's still a candidate. Well, they do have time. I mean, 2026 is a ways away, but you've got this template of how he built it and what he's left as he stepped away in this interim period. I agree with you. Bring the man back.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. I mean, why wait? Why drag this out? Why frustrate the guy? I mean, just, sign him up, man. Get him on contract.
I don't want to see him wind up in the English Premier League because there is a rumor there's about 3 or 4 jobs in the EPL that are open.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether they're good jobs or they're bad jobs. They've got teams about to get relegated out, but there has been conversation because he's been in England, but he did a great job laying a foundation. The foundation is there. They're going to add to it. Stay on the same page. Allow him to come back because what was done to him by the Reyna family, I think, was disgraceful.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. So, want to squeeze one more in, or you want to wrap it up here? I think.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Program reminder Monday. If you like NFL football, our draft preview will be here Monday. Live stream starts at 3:00. John, remind everybody about the subscriptions.
Yeah, so you can subscribe wherever you get your podcast.